You gave everything, your time, your loyalty, your patience, and somehow the people who should have noticed didn't. Here's the truth nobody tells you. Their blindness was never about your value. It was about their limits. And in the next few minutes, you're going to learn how to make that stop hurting you for good. Think about the last time someone dismissed something you worked hard on. Maybe it was small, a comment that landed wrong, a silence where recognition should have been. Maybe it was bigger, a parent who never said, "I'm proud of you." A partner who took your effort as the baseline, not the gift. You replayed it. You over-explained yourself in your head, building the argument you never got to make out loud. And somewhere in that replay, a quiet question showed up. Am I actually not enough? Most people think the answer to that pain is to try harder, be more impressive, work until the recognition finally comes. But here's what almost nobody tells you. That strategy doesn't just fail. It makes you weaker every time you use it. Where this actually comes from. We're taught, without ever being told directly, that our worth is confirmed by other people. A nod. A well done. A moment where someone finally sees what we've been carrying, so we build our entire sense of self on a foundation we don't control. Other people's attention. The Stoics had a name for this trap. They called it living according to what is not up to us. Epictetus opened his entire philosophy with one distinction. Some things are in your control. Your judgments, your effort, your actions, your character. Everything else, other people's opinions, their attention, their fairness, their memory, is not. Here's the line that changes everything once you actually absorb it. You were never in a relationship with their recognition. You were only ever in a relationship with your own effort. The recognition was always a bonus, never the point. Let's go back to that moment, the one where you did something real and it landed on deaf ears. Your instinct is to interpret that silence as a verdict on your worth. But look closer. Their reaction says everything about their capacity and nothing about your value. Some people are simply not equipped to notice effort. Not because you failed to make it visible enough, but because noticing requires a kind of emotional presence they don't have. You cannot outperform someone's incapacity. No version of you, no matter how improved, will unlock appreciation from someone who doesn't have the tools to give it. This is the moment the Stoics would call clarity, not coldness, clarity. Seeing the situation exactly as it is, without the distortion of hope dressed up as expectation. Now you might be thinking, isn't this just an excuse to stop caring, to go numb and call it wisdom? No, and this is the part people get wrong constantly. Stoic indifference isn't the absence of feeling. It's the refusal to let something outside your control dictate your internal state. You can still care deeply about people. You can still love them, work with them, stay loyal to them. What you stop doing is handing them the keys to your self-worth. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself privately in what became Meditations, not as a public philosopher trying to look wise, but as a man reminding himself again and again not to let other people's failures become his own suffering. If the most powerful man in Rome needed that daily reminder, you're allowed to need it too. The wall you're actually building, picture your mind as a house. For years, you left the front door open. Anyone's opinion could walk in, sit down, and rearrange the furniture. A dismissive comment could ruin your whole week. A withheld compliment could make you question a decision you were sure about an hour earlier. What you're building now isn't a house with no visitors. It's a house with a door that you control. People can still knock. You can still let in the opinions that deserve weight. A mentor's honest feedback, a friend's hard truth. But the people who never saw your effort, who take without noticing, who criticize without offering anything real, they don't get a key anymore. They knock. You decide. This is what the Stoics meant by an inner fortress, not isolation, selection. Here's something worth sitting with. The same people who overlooked your effort, who treated your growth as invisible, they eventually notice. Not because you performed harder for them, but because indifference has a strange side effect. It removes your reactivity, and without your reactivity to feed on, people who thrive on your emotional response usually reveal exactly what they were doing. Some will see too late what they dismissed. Some won't ever see it, and that has to be fine too, because your peace can't be contingent on their eventual regret. If it is, you've just built a more patient version of the same trap. There's a specific kind of guilt that shows up when you start saying no, when you stop absorbing everyone's emotional negligence as your job to fix. That guilt tells you that protecting your peace is selfish. It isn't. A boundary isn't a wall built to keep people out of your life. It's a fence built to keep you standing inside it. The Stoics framed self-respect as a duty, not an indulgence, because a person who can't hold their own ground has nothing solid left to offer anyone else. Saying no to being taken for granted, no to carrying an emotional weight nobody else acknowledges, no to proving your worth on repeat, like it expires every week. That's not coldness. That's the most basic form of self-governance there is. And then there's the specific ache of being let down by someone's word, a promise that quietly dissolved, a commitment that turned out to be conditional the whole time. You can't force reliability into someone who doesn't carry it. You can only adjust what you expect from them, based on what they've actually shown you, not what they said, not what you hoped, but what they've demonstrated with their actions over time. This isn't cynicism, it's precision. Expecting exactly what someone has proven themselves capable of is one of the most peaceful decisions you can make, because it removes the repeated shock of being disappointed by the obvious. Picture someone who spent years being the reliable one, the one who remembered birthdays, who showed up early, who carried more than their share in every relationship, and got used to being met with silence in return. For a long time, they kept trying harder, thinking the next effort would finally be the one that landed. Then one day, they stopped, not out of bitterness, out of clarity. They kept being kind, but they stopped auditioning for approval. They kept showing up, but only where it was reciprocated. Within months, the relationships that were built on their overextension quietly fell away, and the ones that remained, the ones built on something real, got stronger, because for the first time, they weren't propped up by one person's exhaustion. That's not a fairy tale ending. Some people in their life never came around, but they stopped needing them to. So here's the principle. Stripped down to its core. Your effort is not incomplete because someone failed to witness it. Your worth is not a debate that requires other people's votes. What is up to you, your integrity, your discipline, your growth, your kindness, that's the only ledger that actually counts. Everything else, their attention, their timing, their capacity to appreciate you, was never yours to control in the first place. Let it go, not with resentment, but with the calm of someone who finally understands the difference between what's theirs to give and what's yours to build. So I want to ask you something real. What's the one thing right now that keeps stealing your peace because you're waiting for someone else to notice it? Write it in the comments. Say it plainly. And if you want to keep building this kind of quiet, unshakable strength, subscribe. Because this channel exists for exactly this, turning old philosophy into a tool you actually use.